Howling Fjord's soaring cliffs were once home to a massive civilization that was established long ago by barbarous, half-giant warriors known as vrykul. The vrykul thrived for many years before abruptly disappearing. The terrible warriors have now reappeared, roused by an unidentified source, to launch a ruthless campaign of annihilation from their Stygian bastion of Utgarde Keep. Page 44 of the Art of World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King. Southeast of Northrend contains a location known as the Howling Fjord, dagger cap base carved into the southern coastline. The magnificent fortress known as Utgarde Keep is situated in the middle of this area. It is a dungeon complex, and one of its portions is one of the two initial instances that players experience when entering Northrend, the other being the Nexus. Both sides' bases are present in Howling Fjord, which lacks a faction-specific focus. A huge turtle ship may take players to Mauki Harbor in the Dragonblight and then on to Unupe in Borean Tundra from the Tuskar community of Kamagua on the Isle of Spears, which is off the southwest coast. Prince Arthas Menethil of Lordaeron appeared during the Third War with his troops to kill the Dreadlord Mal'Ganis and exact revenge from the plague of undeath he had let loose in his kingdom. Together, Arthas and the dwarven adventurer Myrddin Bronzebeard battled Mal'Ganis, whom they believed to be the Lich King's lieutenant. When Arthas' father called him home once more, the prince answered by hiring mercenaries to set fire to his own ships, blaming only them for the betrayal, and compelling his troops to remain and fight as a result. In the adjacent Dragonblight region he looked for and found the cursed blade Frostmourne, killing Myrddin in the process. He defeated Mal'Ganis with the aid of Frostmourne, but as a result the Lich King took his soul. After that, Arthas lost his wits and roamed for a while. When he got back to his camp, he killed his supporters and turned some of them into mindless Scourge and Death Knights. By the time Arthas' journey to Northrend, the Nerubians and Ice Trolls both kept a number of remote outposts in the area around Dagger Cap Bay. The residents of Falgard must contend with recently reawakened vrykul warriors who raid them from their home of Utgarde Keep during the War of the Lich King. Prospectors in Ironforge have also found a new race of Iron Dwarves, which may be a clue to their own ancient roots. Finally, the Forsaken have made their home here and have created a fresh scourge which is prepared to attack the Lich King. Their two principal towns are Vengeance Landing and New Agamant, which bears the name of the illustrious Mills family that formerly resided in Tirisfal Glades. The Howling Fjord has well over 140 quests. The fjord should be the first stop for players visiting Northrend, therefore they had best to be ready to protect themselves. It is a region that is torn apart by territorial conflicts. In the east, the Alliance and the Horde are still engaged in a ferocious conflict over who will control the coast. The North Sea freebooters harass the Alliance in the west, both factions contend with tightly enmeshed vrykul forces that run up the middle of the landmass. Only the quest NPCs in their locales are exclusive, with the majority of the main quest lines being shared between Horde and Alliance. On PvP servers, this should result in increased violence, but there will be a fierce competition for quest creatures and target locations. Players should anticipate fame in the Tuskar and Pirate bands regardless of who they are when dark spiritual influences become more discernible. What mysteries do the gigantic races of the land hold? Is it advisable to keep them a secret? The place is called the Howling Fjord. They gave it that name because the wind always howls like a ferocious animal on the prowl from the sea on all three sides as it speeds in. In order to prevent their ears from ringing when outside, most visitors to Valgard buy low fur-lined caps with flaps for the ears, headbands that slant downward in the rear, or thick hoods. The Howling Fjord is relaxing beside the noise. The climate is a little milder than in the Grizzly Hills, and along with flatter topography, it makes this area a great site to cultivate grains and other commodities. The countryside is dotted with tiny farms, especially in the south towards Valgard. With the return of the forests to the north and the presence of monsters that come from the hills above, it becomes more dangerous but also a great location for hunters. Dark forests, wide plains, perilous rocks, and the lone city and harbour on the continent can all be found in the Howling Fjord. It is the perfect location for Northrend adventurers because of the last feature in particular. Here live the Morlocks with the White Shark tribe. Since the beginning of time, when travelers entered Northrend through Dagger Cap Bay, the Howling Fjord has been a beloved destination. Expeditions might leave from Natural Harbour and go over to the entire landmass. The Scourge swept the land once the Lich King arrived, enslaving its peoples and taking many of the towns and citadels. Prince Arthas of Lordaeron appeared during the Third War with troops to kill the Lich King and exact retribution for the plague he had caused. When Artus's father called him home once more, the prince answered by setting a fire to his own ships, compelling his soldiers to continue in battle. In this area he gained the cursed blade Frostmourne, murdering Muradin in the process. He then fought Mal'Ganis, but as a result he lost his soul to the Lich King. After the battle, Arthas stumbled away by himself, leaving his soldiers alone on Northrend. These dwarves and humans established Valgard. They also constructed the defenses that still keep it safe today. As Valgard expanded, its citizens drove the Drukhari and Furbolgs back into the Grizzly Hills and farther, establishing a secure enough environment for intrepid farmers to work the soil. Only in this area of Northrend do humans and dwarves predominate. However, that is solely due to Valgard. Without that city, the local dwarves, Drukhari and Furbolgs would all be on the same footing. Murlocs are also not taken into account by anyone, primarily because they don't allow most people to get close enough to count them. In Valgard, almost everyone resides. The farmers who live in thick-walled farmhouses by their fields and the hunters and trappers who only travel to the south to trade or sell are the exceptions. The Drukhari and even Furbolgs are in danger in this area, which is also the only sector of Northrend that is governed by the Alliance. Low slopes and dense woodland can be found on the fjord's northern edge. To the south though, the terrain becomes more level and the trees start to disappear, giving way to certain hardy fruits and vegetables as well as grains. On the rock-only southern end, Daggercap Bay dominates. Most residents either reside in Valgard or semicircle above it. There is a variety of fauna in the fjord. Small animals creep through the farms as well as bears and wolves, and other animals prowl the woodlands. The warmer weather and rich soil attracts insects and other vermin, and birds that sleep in the trees take grains and seed. There is only one significant town in the Howling Fjord, and that is Valgard. Everyone else resides in the small hunting camps or lonely farmhouses. Even the Drukhari and the Furbolg made hurried camps among the trees after straying from the Grizzly Hills or Zuldrak. And that is the story of the Howling Fjord. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.